So this question is, how would you suggest that the Seattle Police Department leadership positively engage to change the perspective of the rank and file?
A good, strong leader coaches and inspires and brings out the best in his or her troops. That's what a leader does. A leader is not afraid to admit mistakes, and they turn those mistakes into learning opportunities. Quite frankly, that's not what we see, and I think that's why we lose integrity and good face in front of our own community. When John T. Williams was shot by the officer, a good leader would have said, "That is not how my troops should behave. That was wrong," simply put. In 2010, when Officer Cobain used the racial profanity against the person on the ground, and the other officer, Woolham, went down and put her foot on the officer, even though they determined that that was quote unquote within the that was fair game, within the standard of conduct that officers could do. A good leader will say, "But that's not the best of my leadership. We can do better than that." When we see this action, this inconsistent action that you know better and we know better, a good leader will say, "But that is against the training we teach. That is against everything we know. That is not good policing." So we actually have some very strong policies in place. I will tell you, I spent countless hours looking at the firearms review board processes, the policy dealing with gunplay. City Attorney Peter Holmes and I have talked about a lot of issues with respect to policy. What we actually have, I think, is a lack of strong, charismatic leadership to inspire the troops down below. And that's what we're going to do.
Without further ado, can we show some appreciation for James Bible?
I want to thank you all for standing prepared to participate in the political process. I want to thank you all for being present and being sure to spread the word as to what you've heard here today from all of these council members and potential council members. I think that it's critical that we address the elephant in the room. And the elephant in the room is that one of the reasons why we care about police accountability is because we know selective enforcement is present. And as selective enforcement is present, voters become disenfranchised. Now, what do I mean by that? African Americans, Latino Americans, people of color, people of poverty, people that have drug convictions and otherwise, will not be voting in this election. We care about police accountability. Children that are deciding that they want to do something with their lives that are headed to school may find themselves punched in the face over jaywalking. We care about how that impacts their future and how they think of themselves and how safe and free they feel in their community. We care about gentrification from the perspective that if your kids are trespassed from the corner store and the grocery store of the South End in Columbia City, then soon those African American and Latino and Asian parents will have no choice but to move. And I lived in Columbia City for 12 years. I watched it happen, and I saw certain police officers make sure that certain storekeepers signed those agreements. Now, it is amazing that on occasion we can live right next door to one another but not know one another. And that's the struggle that we have here. I appreciate those that have shared today, those that I have just gotten to know through their words, and those that I have known for several years. Some since I was 6 years old, like Bruce Harrell. Some from family gatherings and church gatherings, like Tim Burgess. Others from interactions in their offices and hearing what they say and do. And I know that at this moment, those that are in this room are prepared to stand up for those that have been disenfranchised from their right to vote. Those that have been moved out of the South End and maybe find themselves in West Seattle or wherever they can afford a place. Those that may be beaten by police officers with no recourse whatsoever. 3 weeks ago, a kid contacted me that I knew for several years. I knew her because I watched her as my neighbor end up in college. And what she told me is that she was standing there while several police officers beat one of her friends with a shovel on Beacon Hill. On Beacon Hill a few weeks ago. The kids are afraid to talk about it. The kids are afraid to come forward and say anything. It happened. Blocks from here. Blocks from here. Times need to change. We talk about all kinds of fancy words like accountability, transparency, community policing. Let's talk strictly about change. Let's talk about a culture that pits police officers against people and people against police officers. Let's talk about the reality that we're not yet in a place, and we're really not, where in this neighborhood, we have the opportunity to see officers as peacekeepers, and they have the opportunity to see us as human beings. That's why police accountability was the focus of tonight. Now, we went all kinds of other places, and I suppose those other places are important too. But what we really wanted to hear, and we really hope to hear more about in the future, is going to be police accountability. But I'm sure this is not the only forum that you all are going to be at, and I'm sure that this is not the only forum that you all are going to be at. So we'll be sure to ask those questions and pay attention and reach out to every other. And make sure that what you hear today touches 10 to 15 to 20 other people. That's how you impact this process. Thank you for taking that stand.